Hello.
Hey, hi. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, I guess. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. I can't complain. Um,
That's good.
so, right. You saw one of my videos about gang stalking. It was perhaps one of the more motivational type videos where I was talking about
Yeah,
finding our power and going through gang stalking and dealing with friends, family, people out there who may be doing these assignments to them. Some of them know what gang stalking is. Some of them may not know what it is.
right.
Right, and then we're working towards courses for you to beat gang stalking on your own terms, how you're dealing with it within your own life, right?
Right, right. I'm seeing patterns, Jamil. I'm seeing, it's enlightening because I'm really seeing, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Well, go deeper into that. So you're saying patterns. You're talking about the group stalking, the color coding and the different types of things, people following you, like that.
Well, yeah, yesterday, so I was making a point of watching, because normally I've learned to just ignore, not even look at people, just ignore. But every time, especially when I go into a grocery store, all of a sudden there's all these men, just single men with no kids, no wife or anything, that come in and shopping in the middle of the day, and you don't, just weird things. You don't see that, right? But every single time, it seems like I go into a grocery store, I'm surrounded by these men who are shopping for groceries. So it has something to do with men taking advantage of me. And I'll tell you, I can't remember if I told you this, but when I was 2 years old, my uncle was raping me, and then when my grandma would come downstairs, I could hear her footsteps coming down. He would throw me in the freezer so that she didn't see me, and I could hear her saying, "Oh, have you seen Kimmy?" And he'd say, "Shut up, don't say anything, just shut up." And so I'd be in this freezer for like a long time, and then he'd take me out and start, fondling me or raping me or whatever. But and it
Jesus.
seems like those, I know, hey, those same situations where I'm helpless, and I know it's in my own mind, it's an illusion. Like, I know I can't escape this, but those exact same situations with men keep coming up, you know?
Okay, so movie now. Do you think the grocery store activity is a form of like mimicking this aspect of your life?
I, I think so, of creating like more trauma, more fear, and because when, a man comes near me, I just automatically kind of move away, you know? So I think it's a form of manipulating or playing on your emotions over and over again,
Right.
based on something that happened when you were really, really young.
Yeah. See, the strange thing I've noticed is with myself, the mimicking effect seems so strong. When I first started coming out in my courses to help people be gang stalking, I
Right.
I came across something I described as a genie effect, where I could make a YouTube video talking about a certain type of woman, and the very next day,
It's weird.
the majority of the people doing the so-called assignments of gang stalking would be people who would fit the description of the
Yeah.
type of woman I was describing on my YouTube video, and it was shocking because I like how quickly that can be networked, and then if you explain it to somebody, it sounds like you're crazy, but you're not. It's something that's actually happening.
Well, do you think that this the law of attraction at play, where you're focused on something and you bring it to yourself?
Well, spiritually, the law of attraction is always at work. That's a universal law that's always in effect. Nobody can actually manipulate that. But the things that people do in their daily life who are going through gang stalking, that's being picked up on by the people the so-called handlers or whatever, who are networking these assignments.
Exactly.
And they put it into the daily, right, they put it into the daily themes. And I became alerted to that very quickly, how exactly that works. And I used to tell people they can actually change their version of the way they're being gang stalked based on, the information they're giving up. Their daily activity will be mimicked back to them.
Right.
It's quite incredible.
Yeah. Well, you see, there's another good example of how they can manipulate, because some people might think, okay, is that the law of attraction at work? But when it's really not, when it's where they're picking up your signals, your feelings, your fears, your thoughts, and then, like you say, the very next day they put that in place, to screw you up.
Yeah, absolutely. If I go right now, if I go and I start speaking to, say I hang out in a certain place and I meet a woman and I start talking to her, they will either get her specifically to do more gang stalking assignments, or they will find somebody who looks similar to her. So, say for instance, I'm speaking to you and we're far away. We don't live anywhere near each other. But if we began speaking more and more and more and more, the people who are observing, my phone calls and utilizing it through the gang stalking, they may perhaps find somebody that fits your description to begin doing assignments on me when I'm out and about in the community. But I know it's not you because you live so far away. So, but that's something they do. That's something they do. I've noticed Right. I've noticed the more interest I pay into somebody. Like, I've had people, there was one woman, we started speaking through the internet, and then she said, I'm coming to pick you up. And I said, okay, you're coming to pick me up. Now, she didn't know I was being gang stalked. I had never told her I was being gang stalked. We were talking about metaphysical, spiritual subject matter. And before she even came and picked me up, she got contacted in some sort of way through the internet or maybe through one of her coworkers or something to participate within the gang stalking assignments. And I'm sure she doesn't even know what gang stalking even is. So I'm thinking, I'm about to meet this person. Now they've been used to gang stalk me before I even met them. And so I should have told her about me and what gang stalking was way before this happened. But I failed to do that. And then after she started gang stalking me, I just said, forget it. I'm not even going to bother trying to call her or text her. Just, it's a lesson learned. Next time, just tell the person up front, right?
Did she tell you that she was approached or something, or how did you find out that?
I saw... No, she didn't tell me she was approached. The last time we communicated, it was through a text message. And we had been talking for a few days, and she was going to come pick me up a couple days before that, but she was busy because she was working. Then a couple days later, she said, "I'm coming to pick you up." She didn't live that far from me. She said, "I'm coming to pick you up," and I say, "Okay." And then lo and behold, within hours after that, the woman was actually literally doing gang stalking assignments on me. Somebody came in and intercepted our communication between each other. Saw that I made a new friend, and I was going to have a friend pick me up and hang out with me, and it turned into somebody coming to her and using her to gang stalk me as some sort of... Right. And that's the type of... I've talked to a lot of other people who go through gang stalking, and there's some targets that doesn't happen to. It's never that intense. But then I've talked to other people where it has been that intense, where, anybody they go out, they talk to, new friends they meet, whatever, they'll go to these people and get them to gang stalk them. And with me, it seems as though it's the people that I show the most emotional interest in. So if I really like a person, that person's going to be used to gang stalk me 10 times more. It's some sort of emotional thing that they're trying to manipulate. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So weird. You know, me, I'm the other way. Like, I don't get close to people. And I've learned, I guess because it's been going on so long, that I don't allow people in my life, really, you know. And I'm constantly pushing people away, but they're constantly trying to get into my life and trying to spend time with me and trying to, and so I'll block them, like block their number and totally, and then that makes them mad, you know, and then they want revenge, and yeah, that is, it, you just don't know, but you know, Junio, you are so right on the money when you say, you know, think differently. When you told me, you know, think safety, think security, that is the way to beat it. It's your thought.
yeah, definitely. It's a psychological approach to it. I get the feeling with you, it's a situation where they're utilizing your relationship with men, and it doesn't seem though like it has as negative a connotation on you as it's had on me. How they've tried to get it between my relationship with women. With you, it seems more like you talk to these guys and they come into your life, but they end up being very shady. You know, like.
I'll describe like this situation that happened in the last town in Airdrie. So I was living in this space and renting from a lady, and she had another tenant that lived. I was renting like a what they call a carriage suite on the top of a garage in the back of her yard. And then there's another guy who was renting her basement suite. And this guy was all depressed and all, and that's what I was doing, like holistic healing. And I said, oh, I have these machines, like I had this biotuner, this brain tuner that immediately takes away depression. And so he came up for a massage. I gave him a long massage. And the guy was like, oh, I'm healed. And he would not stop coming by. He'd come ring my doorbell, come knock on the door, continual phone calls. And that's what I get all the time, is that when somebody meets me, they won't stop coming by. They just start harassing me continuously. And I couldn't get rid of this guy. You know, I could not get rid of this guy. And I wasn't able to work anymore because he kept coming by and he wanted to hang out all the time. And I'd say, Dion, I have to work. You have to leave. You've got to go. And then I found out that he had done this to other people too in the past. Hey, so, and he had gift cards. He always had these gift cards.
Yeah,
And,
that's what he was getting paid with.
Yeah. So, but you know, they think they're wolves in sheep clothing. They come at me like they're just so nice and gonna help me, and you know, wanting to have a relationship with me, and I seriously don't want to have anything to do, you know, relationship wise with men, because you know, my life just isn't conducive to that, right? And so I have all these men all the time that push themselves into my life.
Yeah. I had a similar situation. There was a woman I was seeing for like a couple months, and she was being like, she had all these strange people sending her ads on Facebook and sending her messages to her Facebook, and she said, as soon as I started talking to you, immediately these people have been sending me weird things to my Facebook. I've been getting strange text messages, weird phone calls and stuff. And I say, oh, okay. And at the time, I was trying to create a foundation with her, and I really didn't want to speak about the gang stalking. And so I should have been more upfront about the gang stalking, and I didn't do that. And then lo and behold, after a while, she was being approached, and she was talking to like a couple people directly, and then people were communicating with her through Facebook, telling her what color clothes to wear. So she had to wear red and black and follow me around. But then she would come and like pick me up, and sometimes she would stay with me where I was staying at. And I noticed one thing though, that she had a Google a smartphone, and she was showing me, I was in the car with her, and she was showing me on her phone how there was a Google map, and they were telling her specifically what gas stations to go to at what specific times, like what intersections to drive by, different places, and all these places were more connected to the general theme of the gang stalking I was going through. Now, she wasn't really sure necessarily what gang stalking was until I told her, but she was contracted specifically through this, through these devices, through the phones. She was getting prepaid credit cards. She was getting PayPal stuff. So I would be out walking, and she would be driving by me doing assignments on me. Then she would come and pick me up afterwards, or come stay the night over my house. And then when she woke up, they would be telling her what color clothes to wear and stuff. And it was it was really strange. And it messed up my communication with her. And there was one time where we were hanging out with each other, right? And we started getting like more intimate with each other. And then it seemed like as soon as that happened, then they wanted her to talk to all these different guys and drive by in different cars with different guys and look at me and all this stuff. Like, these people are sick, man. They wanted to interfere with a relationship I had, a grown man and a grown woman having communication with each other, relationship with each other, and they want to come in and interfere with that and mess it up and disconnect my connection. And it was insane. I'm sitting here like, why are so many people so interested in my common communication with a woman? Like, it doesn't make any, like, gang stalking's one thing, but that didn't make any sense to me. That was really strange.
Oh, well, it's a way to keep you isolated, and I think it sounds to me that you have a pattern going on, too, where they want you to hurt. See, it's trauma-based. They want to create this trauma. And for me, it's because what happened to me when I was 2 years old with my uncle, I put that together. So maybe if you think back in your past, maybe there was a woman who hurt you or screwed around on you or something like that. And so they keep creating these situations to play on your weak spot with that. Do you think?
I don't know if it's so much that. I just think it sort of is, but I think it's sort of more of a thing where it's sort of like a spiritual, psychological thing where the people who are behind the group stalking me, the people that I don't see on an ordinary basis, their interest is in, keeping me from having some sort of social communication and some sort of social network of people that I can rely on who are responsible. Like, they want me to be in a situation where I'm watching all these people gang stalk me and I feel alone and I feel isolated. And that's the sort of vision they have for themselves in creating this. And
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, they don't want you to have any friends at all. They want you to be completely isolated. They don't want, it's funny that you're with your mom, man, because my family, none of them will even speak to me at all, and
right.
Yeah, they want you completely alone.
Yeah.
Totally alone.
Yeah, I ended up putting the girl out of my house one night. We were sitting in the living room, and people were texting her. They were contacting her through Facebook, and they were getting her to do certain stuff, like do certain stuff. And I just told her just to get out. I said, this is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, this is crazy. And so I ended up throwing her out. And it really dawned on me that this gang stalking stuff is set up to really create a dysfunctional situation in somebody's life. Like, huh?
Oh, totally. It destroy your business. They want to make you homeless and alone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the crust of it. That's the crust of it. And they're paying people. She was getting Walmart cards. Like one day I was sitting there looking at her, and she was getting Walmart cards, like $50 Walmart cards and $100 prepaid credit cards and PayPal to her account and stuff. And I'm saying this like is heavily financed and organized. I mean, this isn't just a bunch of guys or girls or whoever sitting around saying, "Hey, we're going to pick on Jamil." These are people exchange. There's financial interest involved with it. These are people. There's money exchanging hands, and there's people like coordinating it. Like, this is crazy. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, what's going on?
Oh, well, when 9/11 happened, there was that day before that, there was, I don't know, how many billions of dollars that went missing, from the national security or something, I can't remember, billions and billions of dollars. So everyone was paying attention to 9/11. It came out, and so apparently those billions of dollars went towards the gang stalking program.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Account for, pardon me?
I said it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, apparently I've heard this story a few times before where, it's billions of dollars, hey, and it's just the MK Ultra program never ever ended. It's just a continuation, and it's gotten so much more advanced, like way more advanced than we can even imagine.
Yeah, and listen to this. There's a neighborhood. See, I'm mixed. I'm black and white, and so I have a lot of blood family in a black neighborhood, and I have a lot of step family as well, step relatives as well. And so I started going more back into the black community, and people I've been knowing for years were saying, Jamil, as soon as you come around, other people come around and are giving us like prepaid credit cards and stuff to wear red shirts and follow you back and forth to the stores, follow you with the brightening and stuff on. And it was just weird because, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sitting here trying to explain to them I'm being gang stalked, and at the same time, they're not going to turn down a $20 gift card. They're not going to turn down a $50 gift card. These are people who don't. Half these people are high on drugs when they're doing it. I watched one guy gang stalking me. He was driving his car, and I knew him. He was drunk half the time with no license. Yeah, and he's gang stalking me, and I'm sitting here. Well, I'm like, these are people high off of drugs. Like, this is crazy.
I know. And they never ever get arrested or busted or anything. Like, these predators around here can do whatever the hell they want, hey? And can't go to the police because the police are on their side. The police are part of it, right?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
What I was going to say is, now as a woman, it has to be. Is it more? Do you feel more threatened by the people like who approach you on the streets? Like when you get gang stalked, do you ever feel like you're physically in danger? Like some of these people may try to physically harm you, or have you got conditioned to gang stalking enough to know that it's just a routine and it's not a dangerous situation?
Yeah, absolutely. At first, sometimes I still get scared. Like, I don't think they're physically going to hurt me, but, like, for example, I don't want to talk too loud about my landlord because I think he'll panic, but I'm in the back bedroom anyway. Like, he probably would have no problem, like, throwing me out onto the street and stuff. It's more like a rape, hey? Like, I've been raped a lot of times. And, so it's more, I'm not afraid that they would physically harm me, although some of these women, these big, ugly women, come across as, threatening and really scary and stuff. But when I was drugged, remember I was telling you that time I was drugged for 5 days, they hit me with a board, and my hip still hurts. Or I don't know if it was the board, what it was. In my mind, I think it was the board, but I didn't see what they hit me with. But, I have been conditioned conditioned to ignore it, and I don't know if that's such a good thing, because you're saying, like, confront them, right?
Seeing what?
You're saying it's better to confront them, to turn around and...
Yeah, I mean, if you feel... See, okay, this is what I started learning from gang stalking. When I first started being gang stalked, I didn't know what it was. I had no clue in the world. I'm a veteran esoteric researcher. I've been studying conspiracies and stuff for years on a very deep level. But I had never really came across gang stalking. I think I might have seen it on a blog one time years ago, but I still didn't know what it was. Now that it's happened to me, I'm looking back. But when it happened to me, I didn't know what gang stalking was. And so I started, like, once I started figuring out what gang stalking was, I just started going and standing on the corner and watching these people gang stalking me and watching the cars go by, watching the brightening, watching the color coding. And I eventually broke the confusion stage of gang stalking, where I was no longer confused about my circumstance. I had educated myself enough on the experiences around me to get a foundational grounding into what was happening. So therefore came the more emotional distraction thing, where the people observing me said, well, this guy is no longer confused. He doesn't really look like he's too intimidated or scared of anything. So we're going to use things that are more intimate in his life. And then I ended up going to Phoenix for a couple weeks, and I was being gang stalked heavily. Everywhere I went, I was just being gang stalked. And even before I left, I would go on long walks for like 30 miles, 20, 30 miles, and cars would come at me like they were going to hit me and kill me, and at the last minute they would pull away. And they did this a lot. This would be like at 3 in the morning, cars would come doing like 90 miles an hour scare tactics, like they were going to hit me and kill me. And this happened repeatedly to the point to where I didn't even move anymore. I just got used to it. And then I started doing different things like waving at the cars, talking to the people who were gang stalking me, telling them what gang stalking was. I ended up going to Phoenix for 2 weeks, and then when I was in Phoenix, I started walking around, learning about how gang stalking worked. I started getting a feel for how it happened over there, and I had a jump rope, and I was getting into shape and stuff, and then they started drugging my food. And then after they started covertly, and these were like restaurants, these were like the Olive Garden, Texas Roadhouse, IHOP, these were like, these were notable restaurants, and I was still drugged. I was drugged being gang stalked, and then I said, you know what, I got to get through this. Like, this isn't going to stop, whatever this is, I can't allow this to have any significance over my life. So I just started hitting people up instantly on the corner, on the street, homeless people, people who had good jobs, people who looked like they might have been lawyers, doctors. Some of the people looked like they might have been drug dealers. I didn't care. I just started telling them what gang stalking was, what was going on, and I told them I beat gang stalking. And then a few of the people started looking at me like, "Oh, really?" And it started like I felt a level of respect come in, and it was strange. Then I came back to Michigan and started presenting my courses and stuff to people in the summer of 2016. This was spring of 2016. But when I started presenting my courses and all that, that's when I started, getting gang stalked heavily more. But yeah, going.
It's weird. You forget about things like when you were telling me about cars coming at you. It's the same thing too. Like I remember, you forget, about all these things. So it's almost like, and that was when I first. At that time, I wasn't even aware that I was being gang stalked, but just these weird things were happening. And yeah, same thing, cars would come at me, and I think I even got hit. It's almost like you become delusional. Me, I just try and forget about all this stuff and try and ignore it and forget it. And maybe that's not right.
Yeah, it doesn't help. Going back to what you were asking me, it does not help. It's not a negotiable situation. I used to feel the same way. Like if I try to ignore it or mind my own business or be more low key or something, it'll just go away. And it doesn't work like that. It's a predatory mindset that's governing it. The mindset of the individuals that are targeting you, they're not interested in you being, go along just to get along and being quiet. They're interested in seeing how far they can get into your life and cause psychological and spiritual destruction. So just ignoring it and trying to mind your business, that's not going to help you at all. I know firsthand. You have to be very vocal about what's going on and learn new tactics. And when you go out on the street, you carry it with you. That's just something that's happening to you, and that's who you are. And you have to apply it to your life. I mean, you just got to let people know, what's going on. It's like back in the 1930s in Mississippi, there was a lot of black people who were getting lynched and hung and terrorized every time they opened a store. Their store would get burnt down, and it was horrible. And the black people in the Deep South and Jackson at that time had a mindset: just be quiet, mind your own business, don't cause too much trouble, just leave it alone, And it didn't make anything get better. It probably made things get worse. And then eventually, when people started speaking out and saying, we're tired of being lynched, we're tired of our stores getting burnt down, we're tired of all this stuff, and they started speaking, then things got better,
Yeah. See, I was totally alone. Well, I'm the only one. There's one other guy that I met up here, but he's kind of, I don't know, a little arrogant or something like that. But I'm the only one that I know, like in Canada, that's being gang stalked, so I couldn't talk to anybody, or people would think I'm crazy. But I gotta ask you this question too, is that, the food thing, people would try and always bring me food. Oh, here, I have some leftover dinner, try and eat this, and yesterday I did go out and eat. I hardly ever go out and eat, but yesterday I did, and I felt just dizzy and queasy after. Like, how do you feel after your food's been poisoned in a restaurant?
It scared me. I got drugged one time, and I was real dizzy, and it was like, this was right when I came back from Phoenix. I already had been drugged at several restaurants in Phoenix, and I came back to the area I live at, and I got drugged, and it was real disturbing. And I walked out, and I actually told the police I had been drugged, and they told me there was nothing they could do about it. And then I went to the hospital, and they took my blood, and they tested for several drugs, and they basically said, we didn't find anything in your blood, but on the same token, we don't know what to test for. So, we don't know what the drug is that you took, so that they put in your food. So whatever the drug was, they knew it probably would not be, it was something that would be off the general screening at the hospital. And then when I was drugged, I remember I was talking to the woman at the restaurant, and I told her, I said, hey, it's possible that somebody may be trying to go through the restaurant to covertly drug me. Can you please let me know if anything like this happens? I don't, and I was explaining to her what gang stalking was, how I've been drugged before. And as I'm eating the food, I realized after a while I've been drugged, and then the people working there were actually doing gang stalking assignments on me while I was being drugged at the restaurant. And yeah, it was crazy. But after I got drugged, I immediately went back and I got my jump rope, and I didn't let it faze me. I hit the streets, and I kept walking around, learning from the gang stalking that was happening to me, talking to people about, gang stalking, telling them about my strategies on beating gang stalking. Eventually I met a woman in the process of all of that. Within that same week, I met a woman who had been getting gang stalked herself in the Deep South, and she moved to Michigan to get away from it. So, had I just went inside the house and basically silenced myself and accepted myself being drugged at a restaurant I paid money for to eat at, I wouldn't have learned anything. But I went back out and didn't let it faze me, but it felt horrible. It's a horrible feeling. It's not a pleasant feeling to be drugged. You don't know what the drug is. You don't know if you're going to lose your mind or die, or you put a drug in somebody's food, you don't know how they're going to react to it.
Exactly, because everybody is so different, And for me, I just get weak, like I'm gonna fall down, or it's almost like I don't know if you've ever had when you're low, your blood sugar is low or something, and you just feel like you're gonna pass out, right?
Yeah.
That's the feeling that I get, and these people would bring me food, and I'm kind of the person that I don't like to eat at other people's houses and stuff, and but I don't want to be rude either, so I eat, a little bit or something, and I know that food is always drugged in. And so when I think back, like, why do these people keep bringing me food? Well, they think I'm skinny, like a lot of people, but I still did, when I'm thin, right? And so, I thought that they were bringing me food because they thought that I needed to put on some weight or I couldn't afford to buy food or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I went through that where people kept bringing me food, right? And this young guy, he kept bringing me all this food and stuff, and I'm like, no. The weird thing is he would never let me come into his place. He lived just across the yard from me, and he was up to my place like hundreds of times, but I never ever once was into his place. Just wouldn't let me come. He'd always say, oh, it's too messy, I'm so embarrassed of it. So that's kind of weird too, hey?
Yeah, it's very weird. And one of the times I got drugged, it was at a restaurant, right, a nice restaurant, and I got drugged, and then even after I got drugged, the people that were gang stalking me through the group stalking tactics, they had a theme set up to where they saw that I was trying to meet women and do different things, and so they would have couples hold hands and walk past me in and out of the restaurant. So I'm going into the restaurant, and that night I was going to meet a woman, and I'm going into the restaurant, and I get drugged, and I'm at the restaurant drugged, and then there's people walking around mimicking me trying to meet women holding hands as assignments, and the restaurant was the one getting them to do it. So I'm like, yeah, I'm sitting there like, what? I come in here and pay my money to eat, and you drug me and have all the other clients, all the other customers walk around and mimic me as I'm drugged. I'm like, this is out of control. Like, that's what urged me to come out with my beat gang stalking stuff, because people don't know the life that you have to live through while you're being gang stalked. It's people have no idea in the world what people go through when they're being gang stalked. If they're watching somebody get gang stalked, even if they're a part of it, they only see a small percentage of what's happening to the individual.
Absolutely. Nobody will help you. Not a person will throw you $20 or nothing, hey? Nobody will help or in any way. That's what I've discovered.
No, they're going to be a part of it if anything.
They can manage you and steal from you. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one night. I was hanging out, and this was when I was learning about gang stalking and working on developing my courses when I was in Phoenix. This was a 2-week period, right? And so me and a taxi cab driver, we were out at night, and he was driving, and there was a group of people hanging out and stuff, and there was one woman. I started talking to her from the car, and then she told me to pull up. I was pulling up trying to speak with her. And then the people behind, there was a car that came right behind me and started honking the horn and flashing their lights, and they messed up my communication with the woman. The woman got scared. She was like, what's going on? What's happening? She got scared. And then the group full of people that were on the street, they're looking like, man, this is tripped out. Like what's going on here? And that's exactly, it's just unbelievable. Then they make it out. They want you to look like there's something wrong with you, like you socially can't talk to people, or you socially can't fit in, or you're unstable. When you got people 24/7 drugging your food and stalking you, and it's unbelievable the life you got to live.
It's almost like what you want most in your life. I want like a safe place to live and a place to work. It sounds like you'd like to have a relationship in your life. So it seems like whatever you want most in your life, they're going to screw it up,
Yeah, that's the funny thing about it, is like they've messed up my communication with several different women. And it got to the point to where, I'm not trying to sound crude or anything, it got to the point to where I was going through a really hard time in my life, and I was going out and seen like basically call girls, you know.
Yeah.
And to this day, I mean, you know what I mean, like to make up for what I can't do naturally because of all these people messing with my life. I got to be reduced. Yeah.
Want to be with somebody, you know, and I have it kind of good because, like, I'm a massage therapist, so I get to see men that way and touch them and stuff like that. Like, I haven't had sex in a long time, other than, you know, being raped, but for some reason, you know, I'm okay with that. But that human contact with the opposite sex, I mean, there's two forces there. It's an absolute need, you know.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. That's one of the biggest things I'm trying to get across to people when I talk about my courses and I tell people about gang stalking is if the right social stability is there and, you know, the right understanding from family and friends, peers in the general area in the community or anywhere, not just the general area that somebody lives at who's being targeted, but just all over, if there is a foundational acceptance and comprehension of what the individual is going through, I mean, it would change things for people getting gang stalked, though they would still probably be getting gang stalked. I don't think the gang stalking is just going to go away, but it would make their lives a whole lot more easier. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. If people just understood, hey? But, you know, if that was the case, once it, you know, hits mainstream media, so many people, you know, like how MK Ultra was kind of exposed and they said it was shut down, but it wasn't. Don't you think they're going to have to eventually, you know, say, okay, these are the victims, and you don't think it's going to stop, hey, anytime soon?
Well, see, that I'm glad you brought that up. That's very interesting. Again, I was, you know, I'm a veteran esoteric researcher. I was into conspiracy research very hardcore, and I used to have communication with known MK Ultra victims. I used to speak to people who were involved, you know, with intelligence and those types of things. And so I know MK Ultra was real. There was congressional hearings on it. I mean, this publicly came out in the 70s. This isn't anything secret. Right, this isn't anything secretive. And so the people that were damaged through these studies are still around, but it's changed. It's not like 1953, you know, with Dr. Delgado, where they bring somebody into a laboratory and have to surgically implant their brain. They don't have to do that anymore. Now they have remote neural ability. Right. So
it's hard to track, right? It's hard to prove.
Right. But like with gang stalking, to answer your question, yes. I was watching A&E one night, and I saw a group of Scientologists who were saying that they were terrified when they were Scientologists and they left Scientology because there were individuals who were like basically stalking them, coming to their houses, following them all around town to bring them back into the Scientology fold. And I think one day there's going to be people, you know, who are going through gang stalking, who are going to be doing interviews, and it's going to be on television more. It's going to be more recognized and accepted as a reality. And people are going to be saying, yes, for years everybody thought I was crazy and I was being followed and my food was being drugged, electronic weapons. Like that's going to happen inevitably because there's way too many people. There's like probably 50 times more people going through gang stalking that ever went through any type of MK Ultra program. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And more and more and more coming forward, you know. That reminds me, I just listened to a video this morning, and I'm going to see if you recognize this guy, because this guy is a solution-based person. I'm just going to look at my history here, and it reminded me of you. You're a lot more classy than him, though. He's kind of crude, and, you know, but let me see.
Wow, it's hard for me to... Thank you. It's hard for me to picture that, but thanks. I make a lot of mistakes, you know.
Well, you've only been in it for a couple of years, and you were totally advanced like me. I didn't recognize... when I first started really realizing that, hey, this stuff is way more than a coincidence, and the same thing. And then I got like just terrified. I was staying in a motel. I was escaping like an abusive situation again. And so I stayed in this motel, and there is this big tattooed up guy asking me to come and have drinks with him and stuff. And that's, I thought, like, okay. And then he was saying something about the police, because you know what? I was part of this thing called Cop Block, and so we'd videotape police beating up people and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't do that anymore. But when I was doing that, that's when I really got harassed a lot. And so this guy staying in the very next room to me, I looked like a great big biker guy and all tattooed and scary. Hey, you get a feeling from these people. And that's when I started watching. That's when I first kind of learned about gang stalking, targeted individuals, and they had a lot of crap, like on the, to make it look like these targeted individuals are crazy. But now there's a lot of, intelligent people like you. And I know what you mean by, esoteric research, because me too, I just went through 10 years hard study to become an energy healer.
Okay.
And, same thing, there's a lot of, esoteric stuff. And I communicate with people telepathically too, hey? But anyways, I found this guy, and his name, and he's a targeted individual. He has videos on YouTube. His name is Scott Snitzer. Have you heard of him?
No, I haven't heard of him, but I'll definitely look into it. Can you say the name one more time?
Scott Snitzer.
Okay.
And then the last name is spelled Snitzer. But he's got the same idea as you, is that, we can think our way out of this. And he was talking about, I never seen him before today either, and he was talking about, confronting them and stuff. And so the name of this video that I just watched is Gang Stalking and Trauma, How to Get Payback by Rising Above This Shit.
Right.
And he swears a lot, in his videos, and I don't mind people swearing, but I don't know, when it's every other word, you just kind of get sick of it. And he's not too bad, but
yeah, I had a period, where like a lot of my morality had looked pretty low, and people that were watching me didn't realize with the demoralization that was happening to me, how this wasn't, it was me on the internet talking and saying things, and I was swearing and stuff, but I was angry. I went through a long period. I had everything from electronic weapons to, like just numerous people doing all sorts of strange group stalking tactics to me. Again, I went through a period where I was being covertly drugged. Me and my mother were going through some hard times between each other, all over gang stalking and what was happening to me. And to outsiders who are observing me, they're going to look at me like, man, this guy is on the internet, like, he's foul, he's saying all this stuff. Like, what's going on? Like, this dude is irresponsible. But the people didn't get a chance to see the overall orchestration that was targeting me, to understand what was happening. You know what I'm saying? To see what was happening. And so that's what...
I've been there too, hey, and you just want to lash out and, fuck this shit, and, I swear once in a while too, hey, but this guy's like all calm, and it's just like when it's, sometimes swearing isn't necessary, the odd swear word's fine, but I don't know, I just found he's a little bit, he's trying to help people, he's trying to say lies about it, but he's still talking like he's upset too, yeah, so yeah, maybe I shouldn't judge it that way, but oh my God, Jamil, I've been there too. I've been pissed right off to the point where you just, and people look at you like, oh yeah, there's something wrong with her, We don't understand what you've been through.
Yeah. Oh no, they have no idea in the world. I mean, they have no idea.
Yeah.
They have no idea in the world what you're experiencing and the hardship that's on you. I'll say it off bat. The majority of the people that I've seen more intimately gang stalking me, they would have had a really rough time. I don't think they would have gotten through as much stuff as I gotten through. They wouldn't have made it through a tenth of it. I can just tell by looking at the majority of them, you know. And I ended up going on a 37-mile walk during my hardships of going through gang stalking, and it ended up with my mother involuntarily placing me into a psychiatric ward. And I was there for 10 days. I was in the ER for 4 days, and then I was in a psychiatric ward for 10 days, and I was being gang stalked in the psychiatric ward.
Oh yeah,
and
that's a heavy duty, yeah.
And they were they were sitting there asking me if I was paranoid while they were gang stalking me, and they wanted and I got out, but right after I got out, I started my courses more heavily. I opened up my website for Beat Gang Stalking. I just got out there and got twice as much more active, but I was still going through some hard stuff though. You know what I mean? And like I'm one person. Try like 10 people conspiring against one person full time, 24/7 with money, with electronical weapons, all this group stalking stuff. Then numerous other people I don't even know being contracted to do assignments on me routinely. I mean that's one heck of an orchestration for one individual to walk through. You know.
Well, they pick the strongest ones, hey, and I'm sure they do. They pick the ones that are so strong because they want to watch you and see how far you can go, see how far they can push you. But if you're a weak person, you know, they're going to waste their time because you're going to kill yourself right away. So you're an incredibly strong person, and that's why you were picked, and intelligent. They pick strong and intelligent people.
Yeah, no doubt. And they couldn't hack it themselves, but they wanted to.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.